In this program, you'll use a light sensor and an LED, where the light sensor checks two different conditions before deciding whether to turn on or off that LED light. In the void setup function, use the pin mode function with the arguments A2 and input to set up your light sensor. The light sensor is going to be plugged into the smaller block of ports near the bottom of the maker board. Make sure that the plus and minus marks on the light sensor board match up with the plus and minus ports. You'll use another pin mode function to set port 2 as an output and put an LED light in there. The void loop starts with an if statement. This is similar to the last automatic nightlight that you may have made if you're following along on the projects. It checks the reading on port A2, and if that reading is less than 300, the code between the curly braces of this if statement will run. Remember, the light sensor can read values from 0 for completely dark to 1023 for extremely bright. So, if it's darker than a value of 300 on the light sensor, digital write to high or turn on the LED. This else if statement has another conditional. This is different than an else statement because in order for the code between the curly braces of an else if statement to run, the condition between the parentheses of the else if statement has to be true. So this is similar to an if statement. It has a condition, and then between the curly braces it has an action. The major difference is that an else if statement is only checked if the if statement condition before it is false. If the if statement here is true, the else if statement condition isn't even checked. It's skipped over by the program. So, if the void loop checks to see if analog read A2 is less than 300, and that's false, then the code will check to see if the analog read A2 is greater than 400. If that's true, then the code between the curly braces of the else if statement will run. That code here is a digital write function with the arguments to and low, so it turns off the LED light. After the actions of either the if statement or the else if statement have run, the code is going to find the closing curly brace of the void loop and then jump back up to line 9 and check the condition of the if statement again. So let's think about how this program is going to work. It's designed to stop your LED nightlight from flickering when you have a light value that's very close to the threshold. So imagine that you have a light value as the sun is going down that's ranging from 299 to 301. What will happen is that sometimes when the analog read of A2 is 299, the light will turn on. And if you didn't have this else if statement, when the light reading was 301, this would be false and the LED would turn off. So that range being very close to the threshold is going to create flicker on your light. If we do it this way, then we have an if statement checking to see if the light value is less than 300, turn on the LED. But because the threshold for turning off the LED is 400, the LED is not going to turn off unless the light value increases a lot. So what will happen if the analog read of A2 is 350? Think about what the code is going to find. Imagine that it's been bright through your house, and so the LED light is off. Now, the light value falls to 350. Well, analog read of A2 is not going to be less than 300 if analog read A2 is 350. So the if statement condition is not true. The code is going to fall to the else if statement and see is analog read of A2 greater than 400. It's not, because analog A2 is equal to 350. So this code won't run either, meaning that no code in the loop will actually run when you have an analog reading of 350. So In our imagined scenario, it's bright in your house and the light value is falling to 350. So the LED will stay off. There's nothing in the code to turn it on. Now let's imagine another scenario. It's been dark in your house with a light value of 250. So the LED has been on all night. As the sun rises, the light value is rising and now it's 350. So the void loop is going to come in and check, is the analog read of A2 less than 300? No, because that analog read is 350. So the action of the if statement is going to be skipped. Next, the code is going to check the condition of the else if statement, and it's going to ask, is the analog read of A2 greater than 400? The answer there is no, because it's at 350. So the actions of the else if statement are also skipped. This means that no code in the void loop is going to affect your LED light, meaning that because the light was already on, it's going to stay on. There's no code to turn it off. So the idea of this if-else-if statement in the void loop is to say when the light value is between 300 and 400, do nothing. Only when it reaches one of these thresholds, 300 or 400, should we actually make a change. And because we have that threshold difference of 100, the light's not likely to flicker like it might if you just had one threshold turning the LED on and off.